Hello there. This is Eunice, the author of Triplewood, the three P's of dealing with childhood trauma. I'm back again, and today I'll be reading from page 23, chapter 3. It's titled Stop Touching Me. Before I start reading, Triplewood contains strategies to help deal with trauma and challenges of life. And having said that, it is not a replacement for professional help. If you are struggling in one way or another and you've tried so many things, talk to people and close allies and nothing changes, you might want to speak to a professional, a counselor, or a therapist. So let's get right in. Page 23, chapter 3, page 23, stop touching me. When two elephants fight, the grass suffers. African proverb. I've been hearing this proverb all my life. Bayonle remembers being touched inappropriately by male relatives and acquaintances. To her 5 to 9 year old self, this was the norm. The female adults around her would make matters worse by calling Bayonle the wife of these male figures. This made her feel special. To them, it was just a joke, but psychologically, they were unintentionally helping in the grooming. She doesn't remember being instructed by any adults around her to not allow anyone to touch certain parts of her body. So I'm telling you now, in case no one has ever told you, private parts should stay private. Are you a victim of sexual abuse? You need to speak up to advocate for your own healing process and to also help others. But the right time to speak up is determined by you. You know yourself more than anyone knows you. It's important that you say something to someone when you are ready. You will know the right time to do this. Another innocent child who experienced sexual abuse was Ngozi. She was constantly abused sexually by her father's friend and her domestic staff. Ngozi's parents were business moguls. Their chain of businesses took them away from home most of the time. They depended on domestic staff, family, and friends to watch their children when they were gone. Their trusted friend and domestic staff took advantage of Ngozi's parents' absence and abused her sexually. What a shame. The driver that took her to school started touching her at the age of 6. Then, when she was going through puberty, the driver would fondle her breasts in the car all the way to her school and back. When her parents saw she was struggling in math, they hired one of her father's childhood friends to tutor her 3 times a week. 3 months in, the teacher had groomed Ngozi to perform oral sex on him. This happened when the other domestic staff were gone on errands. The math teacher knew her parents' schedules and the staff's schedules. He molested her at least once a week when no one was home. She couldn't tell anyone about it as the predator had threatened to hurt her, her parents, and himself. With time, Ngozi started having sex with boys in her school. She received no positive affirmation from her father as he was always away. So she unconsciously searched for approval from any male. As a result, any male who said nice things to her could sleep with her if they know how to play their cards right. By the time she turned 17, she had had 3 abortions. Ngozi is now in her 50s and on a journey to healing, but her past still haunts her every now and then. She wishes she had run away from home or told someone. A child wants to be loved, not violated. Predators look for young children to satisfy their inordinate affection. They are pedophiles and they know their game. They use their cunning strategies to win the trust of innocent children. Most parents do their best to protect their children from predators. Unfortunately, some parents miss the signs. This is partly because some were victims of sexual abuse and molestation themselves. Some of these adults are so traumatized and broken that they normalize the inappropriate behavior they witness in their children. Studies have shown that 30% of abuse victims will abuse their children. And for other parents, their nonchalant attitude is simply ignorance. Since they didn't experience good parenting growing up, they struggle with being good parents for their children. They can't give what they don't have, after all. They are emotionally damaged and they need help themselves. As with other children who are victims of abuse, the darkness that surrounded Bayonle, a poor, lonely girl, was scary. Bayonle's darkness was so immense and unrelenting that she lost her inner sight. She often felt hopeless, helpless, and confused. We need to understand that children don't have the same sense of reasoning as adults. Their brains are still developing. They are vulnerable. They can be groomed for abuse easily. Parental love is one of the fundamental needs of a child. If this is lacking, the child will accept affection from anyone ready to provide it. Even more important is parental presence. Bayonle looked for a mother. Children whose parents are absent or not active are prone to accepting attention from anyone, including predators and pedophiles. It's important that parents and guardians teach children under their care sex education. Children need to learn about their body parts and the importance of not allowing anyone to touch them inappropriately. The danger of a lack of sex education is grievous. Abuse victims may grow up to accept the abuse as a normal way of life and become pedophiles in training. Studies have shown that 40% of pedophiles were sexually abused in their childhood. Equally, studies revealed increased rates of mental illness, suicidal thoughts, suicidal attempts, alcohol, and illicit drug abuse among childhood sexual abuse survivors. Perhaps the adults in little Bayonle's life didn't know they were digging a pit for her. Perhaps they too were abuse victims. Either way, she had no choice but to leave the hand she had been dealt. This is the end of chapter 1. I want to talk to parents. Parents, please come near. It is important that you educate your children about sex education. Tell them the names, the real names of their body parts, and let them know that their private parts should be private. For no, it's the private parts is not meant for anyone to touch. Please educate your children. It's okay to talk about sex to your children. Look for age-appropriate sex education resources. They are out there that you can use. There are tools that you can use to educate your children. It's very important. And if your child confided in you that someone abused him or her, please be present and support your children. Abuse is not allowed. Is not okay. Report it to authorities. validate your children's feelings, because most children will say, well, I told my parents and they didn't do anything about it. They even blame me for it. Empathize with your children and play the role of adult here. Empathize with them. Until I see you again, my name is Eunice, the author of Tripod.